In medtech, the difference between a good quarter and a great one isn't always the product. It's the friction standing in the way. Broken sales cycles, misaligned teams, deals that stall at the finish line. Every leader feels it, and the best ones know how to remove it. Welcome to Zero Friction, the podcast where we go inside the minds of medtech's top commercial leaders to uncover the real barriers they face, the decisions they make, and the systems they build to keep the revenue moving. I'm your host, Terry Kuchaluchis. Let's remove some friction. Well, welcome, audience. My name is Terry Kuchaluchis. I'm with the Zero Friction podcast. Today, I have the honor of speaking with Ayla Annac. She is the co-founder and CEO of Invivo Sciences, which is breaking out with a brand new therapy for treatment of heart failure. And Anna's here going to give us a little background on her career, talk about some of the opportunities that she sees in the heart failure marketplace, and where Invivo Sciences will be moving towards in the near future. So, Ayla, thank you so much for being here. Why don't you give us a little background on yourself and the company? So thank you.
Thank you, Terry. I appreciate being here as your guest, and appreciate the opportunity that you bring to us. My name is Ayla Annac, as you mentioned, and I am a co-founder and CEO of a small-scale biotech company called Invivo Sciences since 2001. My co-founders, Dr. Bakasuki and Dr. Elliot Elson, we established the company initially in St. Louis, Missouri, and the company started as a technology development company for enabling the precision medicine in heart failure. And the part of the technology that we developed, or platform we developed, combines AI-driven patient stratification with patient-specific biological heart tissue that we create three-dimensionally, and what we call biological twins. So very layman ways that we are able to get a sample through the stem cell technology from a patient or patient-specific and create the outside of the body, the three-dimensional heart tissues or disease models. And we are able to screen the drugs or targeted drugs on those patient-specific human cardiac tissues. And we are able to identify not only targets, but also toxicity of those molecules for the target population. And through AI integrations, out of a large scale of population, we can even go to the subcategories of the population. That means we can do smaller scale clinical trials for the heart failure precision drugs, and that is not very available yet in industry, and that is why we are excited to do. But when you ask how I came to this world, is that question, I will go back step from where we are. I lost my own father to heart failure in Turkey, in Istanbul, long years ago, more than 33 years ago. He died at work at age 53 for heart failure. And it was very difficult as a young child and a family to understand why he died suddenly at work. And it was very young man. And this became a mission in myself, in my heart. And I said, I want to make something happen so that nobody experiences pain and nobody go through this again. And I didn't know at that time how big of a scale of a disease is heart failure around the world. And when I talked to the doctors at that time for my father, when we went to visit the doctor, they told me that there's no technology available. He needs a new heart, and there's millions of people in the line to get a heart. We cannot. He needs to be in a list. He will not make it. So such a information for a little mind is very hard to grasp. Later on in St. Louis, Missouri, when I was working for Nestle Prina, and I had the pleasure to meet with the two scientific founders, Dr. Bakasuki and Dr. Elliot Elson, and their project, I was very excited because they were talking about to create from the human heart directly by the utilizing stem cell technology, which they have, which is creation of three-dimensional cardiomyocytes, to screen the drugs and to be able to identify precision approach utilization, a drug that is curing or at least targeting the disease, underlying disease of a specific patient population. And they said they can help to do so. And that excited me when I was working for a corporate, and I said, I like to help because I lost my father. I can help you to put the business side of it, business plans. And I talked to the Washington University Medical School, and suddenly medical school said, oh, this is very nice, but you need to take on because we need somebody to lead the project. And if you lead that, if you put together the business plans and the concepts, and if it is, reasonable, then we fund partially and the scientists can go, apply for grants and we see the scientific validation and it goes. I didn't know that it will take very large years and I didn't know how difficult it will be to get funding, to validate scientific standpoint, to get NIH and American Heart Association's validations behind. And these are different paths and they come together, but you have to validate each step and then go to the pharmaceutical companies like Pfizer that time to see if they have an interest. But that time they said, we are ahead of time. We need to, develop and then bring them as we develop more concept to, stage of the data and the platform technology. So they kind of guide me with the sets of paths, but each path takes years and require investment. So these are hefty technologies, require funding and require a consistent effort of promoting and not giving up on the technology till development stages and everything is proven data came. So teams cannot give up even though people are not there to match with your excitement or you have some solution, but they are saying, oh, I need data or nobody is doing it. This is ahead of time. Many people responded that way and investors were not excited to investing at the early stage or too risky. So we have only groups like SPIR, government grants that they fund early risky technologies or universities. So we were in that gap and now we had to persevere and have lots of grit. So I think the way I came into that because of loss of a father had a mission and the scientific partners also are idealistic and really, really sharp individuals that they also want to help humanity. So they have this humanitarian aspect of it because they do know that it's a difficult path. If heart failure had a solution by now, my father died 34 years ago, many drugs will come. Right now, there is still no precision medicine in the heart failure, even though it is number one killer and 20 million people each year dying from that. And so I think the reason I did it is very simple. I would like to be a solution to a really large scale problem. And I also understand that this is big, so I will like to be more leading the collaborative effort because no one company can make this happen. You need pharmaceutical partners, you need investors, you need experts, you need people understand how difficult space is this. Because oncology has been supported, precision medicine in oncology has been supported with the large-scale government funding and many people's efforts. And right now, more than 500 drugs available, precision drugs available. Oncology space is a precision medicine approach, but heart failure is 5 or 6 drugs for all around the world and no precision medicine yet and no funding equivalent to the oncology space.
So, do those drugs actually cure heart failure, or do they just fix the symptoms, or provide a solution for the symptoms? Is there a cure, or is it curative?
Secondary symptom management is right now they are providing a quality of life for the patient. Maybe they can relax, they can breathe, and maybe they can walk, they can sit on a chair and they can read things, but none of them is curing. So they are becoming in the medical system and in the area that we are working, heart failure preserved ejection fraction is one of the most debilitating one. Rehospitalization occurring. So they are at home, they cannot exercise even because there's no drug, there's no innovation in the space. And that rehospitalization cost is enormous without curing the patient.
I think it's a real good place to maybe even highlight, like, what is the impact of heart failure on our society today? Like, so there's obviously the qualitative component of somebody's life, right? So when you get heart failure, you can barely walk down the street, across the house, play with your children, play with your grandchildren, get to the mailbox, right? Those activities are taken for granted, that they just don't happen with the same quality that you used to have, correct?
I think you really well explained. Not able to play with your grandchildren, not able to go to the mailbox or exercise as a man, or not able to breathe correctly, and you are dependent on someone else because our societies, man has been providing for the family. And when you take that main provider, sometimes there's not much left for that society. Some people go into poverty levels when the main figure can no longer work. In the area of what we work, the rejection fraction 51% is female. The situation is much more worse because at least in the male figure, when they go down, there's a partner, there's a sister, there's someone that's feminine
Right.
caregiver.
A
But if
caregiver, right? A
yes,
caregiver.
caregiver, yes, and it's a big burden on the caregiver because they are not sometimes even compensated. But if the care taker or the needer is a feminine,
Yeah.
now somebody needs to
Male.
work. Male
The
needs to
person who's
work.
not the natural caregiver now
Yes, they
needs to
are.
be the caregiver. It's hard, right?
It is 51%. That means our society can collapse if this heart failure is not going to be having a solution. Nobody looking into that from that standpoint. Both
Yeah.
is not good idea. But if there is no solution and both genders are affected in this, long-term effects on our communities is
Yeah.
disastrous. So we need to understand maybe being a cancer patient is not a fun thing. Nothing is fun in any way. But heart failure, you cannot breathe. You have one heart. The moment you stop breathing, it
Yeah.
is done.
And so the other thing I think our audience, highlight for is that, I think heart failure has the same mortality rate of a lung cancer. So I think, the mortality rate's what, 50% within 5 years or something along those
Yes,
lines.
correct. Exactly.
So catastrophically, from a mortality perspective is there. Economically, I think it's the number one healthcare cost burden that we have on Medicare. So when you look at our Medicare spend, I think heart failure has the number one expense tied to it. So the problem from a qualitative life perspective is huge. The problem from a mortality perspective is huge. And the problem from an economic perspective, just with the healthcare costs, is huge. So the problem's massive. So you're out here trying to fix this massive problem. And your solution is designed to be a curative solution, correct? As well?
Yes. The two area we are helping, number one, to decrease the trial cost, clinical trial cost of heart failure drug development through the patient stratification, because our technology has two sides. Number
Okay.
one is that we are able to go targeted patient specific cardiac tissues. We can develop a disease model outside and they
Okay.
can test the drugs. But the other side is that we are able to bring the right patient to the right drug to the
Mm,
clinical trial. So smaller scale clinical trials like cancer.
precision, more of a
Yes,
precision medicine.
yes. And
Nice. Okay.
right now, one of the problems of investors shying away because clinical trials of heart failure is very, very large, 2,500 people, very costly, and the failures at the phase 3. So once you have a failure in phase 3, billions of dollars is like at risk. Nobody likes to be investing there. So they are
Right.
expecting government investments coming in so that they can de-risk. And in the cancer area, the incentives in precision medicine was significant, while in the heart failure area, it is almost very not equivalent. So that means that we need not only the help from the investors to open the minds that there are new technologies that cost, there's the clinical trials can be small trials and effective, successful trials can be done because of the new technologies like what we have. But also, I think with the collaborative efforts, there will be more incentives to create precision drugs and fund them.
So your technology is not only designed to potentially one day actually be a cure, but it's actually designed to be a precision diagnoser for heart failure, so the right drugs can be delivered or the right therapy can be
Yes, in the future,
prescribed.
yes, because we can actually identify the diagnostic parameters of a specific patient population, and then they can bring the drug from the disease model from that targeted population. And when the drug is actually approved, it is for that target population. So the treatment is very specific. So that is also a companion diagnostic area. So you are not only, approving the drug, but it's a companion diagnostic side. So diagnostic companies, as well as drug companies, is going to be benefiting from partnering And because we are small, we have one drug in our library that we are working on, a lead drug, but the technology can help many drugs development with collaboration.
So where do you stand today, like in terms of if getting something that would be, is your goal to get something clinically approved, or is it designed to work within the current research structure of a pharmaceutical company pathway? It's like, is it a
It,
standalone by itself, or is it more like a strategic supporting tool for a company that's trying to develop a heart failure drug?
our platform can be support and
Okay.
can work with anybody, like a CRO, specific niche CRO, or
Sure.
collaborative
Yeah.
effort. So they can access the platform and develop their own drugs, or bring smaller populations, and we can help them to develop the protocol for which population needs to be brought to the clinical trials for the success of the drugs that they have at hand, or the diagnostics. But what we have is, for heart failure preserved ejection fraction, we call IVS 201. We are trying to move that lead drug to the next stages of clinical trials, and we are trying to generate a successful, meaningful phase 1 data, and from the biologically stratified patient population for that specific drug, because we can stratify the population. And when we do this one successfully, the drugs will validate that how successful drugs can be, many drugs can be, come out from a platform like what we have, and so that others will not be shying away from developing precision medicine for heart failure, and they will join the efforts of many small-scale drugs for subpopulations, because heart failure preserved ejection fractions has large subpopulations. So, but currently everybody takes one drug, and
Right.
everybody goes to the same. We are focusing on the group that has fibrosis on their heart, and that is the reversal of fibrosis is our target for that population. And that is why we are very targeted on where we are going for the clinical trials. And that will be a drug candidate that pharmaceutical companies can come and collaborate and take on for full commercialization, and investors will continue working either with the sub-libraries what we have, other drugs, or we can collaborate with helping others to develop their drugs.
Well, that's quite a noble purpose. Sounds like a big, a big list of things to do. When do you have time frame in terms of when all this might become viable, or is that a topic you can discuss today?
Yes, I think we are looking for the next 18 months for successfully raising the stage of the funding we need for the covering the cost of the phase 1 trials, which is a
Okay.
smaller scale because we have human data already. And that is, if we are successful to show how small trials can be done, that will
Okay.
open the floodgates for investors' mindset. And also, as I mentioned, that there is a mindset of an ecosystem that needs to change, because there is not much incentives, government incentives, behind the development of the precision medicine
Right.
drugs for heart failure. Maybe NIH is one of the main sources, but they don't have sufficient funds for everybody. They don't have
Right.
sufficient funds to give every innovation coming out. And so what is happening, again, it goes to philanthropic groups that can fund
Okay.
individuals, family funds that have the legacy that they want to come and contribute because they are already in the space. And so those individuals are very important to bring the new precision medicines for the next 10 years to the society, and to prevent the burden of the taxpayers, and to bring the new solutions that is effective solutions to the patients. And this is going to happen with the groups. So leadership will come through collaborative efforts. So not one company will be the queen or a king of the space like cancer field. There will be many drugs will come. Everybody will win. There's enough money to make in this one, but
Okay.
I don't think expecting it government just will fund this. Currently incentives are very low compared to the cancer field. It has to change. It will come. That changes and that funding will come. I think Europe already is aware because they declared in Davos, I believe, the precision medicine and cardiac is one of the critical challenges for European countries, and they have to find solutions that will be effective for cardiovascular diseases. So there are leaderships looking into that, but fundings even in Europe is way behind to cancer area.
So the funding's been a challenge then, I guess, is a friction point.
Correct.
And I know that I talked to other founders and co-founders in the medtech and the pharmaceutical space, and it's been a very challenging period to raise money, and especially with a big problem like heart failure. Those are things where government assistance is definitely probably supported by a lot of folks. But it sounds like, was there some legislation that got passed for some new grant money too? I think just recently, possibly in the
Yeah,
legislature.
actually, I think SBIR companies, NIH funding reauthorized.
Yeah.
And I would like to say that, we are very grateful. One of the companies, and initially we got funding to do the prototype development and technology platform development through the university partnerships. And without those funding, investors doesn't come at very early stages. And
Right.
so without those kind of funding, the technology is like colossal and number one killer in the not only US, around the world, will not find a solution innovation. So we are grateful, but at the same time, I think there is a huge space where innovation, efficiency, and strategic partnerships still needs to come together. And we cannot wait everything from governments. We cannot wait everything that they will be the solution and they will only be one funding. But I think there is a room for larger scale of incentives from the government because oncology, precision medicine only developed this far and this highly because of the government spending behind was proportionately significant. Other than heart failure is not much. So we have
Right.
only one or two philanthropic funds trying to do work on this space. And so I think everybody is competing for attention. Everybody is trying to get some, funding. And while this colossal problem taking lives
Mm,
daily and hospitalization is the big problem in the hospitals. So
very
if
much.
1% of that rehospitalization, which is $300 billion cost, paid back to the investors or through the structures,
Right.
I think more innovation will come. And I think technology is already here. All we need to do to collaborate to bring the drugs together. And I think we have enough smart people out there, it's very smart investors out there that pulling together the teams and making things happen in a collaborative manner shouldn't be a problem, but I think it is not a challenge that has been solved. So I am just one of the individuals and soldiers trying to make something happen.
Well, and it's a great purpose to have. I think at the end of the day, heart failure is a big problem. You're trying to solve that big problem, and we understand there's a long pathway to go with that as well, with funding, large randomized clinical trials. All those things take time and money, and so getting as much support from a financial perspective is needed in order to solve these big problems. And so we definitely have an appreciation for that. So moving forward, do you think is it a 5-year window of time frame? Is it a 10-year? What do you think the window is before technology like either yours or other technologies like yours gets to the market for us?
I think there's no reason for this will be not a 5 years window because technology has been already developed. There's no funding needed for technology. So that
Okay.
means that only thing we need to do is that to target the subpopulations for heart failure with different drugs, and not one company can have 500 drugs. And that is why every company, small companies, will come up with their focus area of drug development. But
Right.
to our technology will be able to show that you can complete a phase 1 study with approximately 250 patient population. This is a huge economical scale difference from the larger
Right.
clinical trial to a smaller. A very similar to cancer oncology approach. People who are in the field of oncology precision medicine development will
Hmm.
know this economics and investment and
Right.
the returns, but this is not happening in the heart failure. The moment few companies successfully start showing the drugs, even those segments for a smaller population, there is no reason for so many other drugs to do the
Mm.
same, follow the path and, to target the other populations, and then drugs will start coming out in time. So 5 years, I think, is very reasonable by knowing that stratification technology, medical records, AI, integration, and also the three-dimensional cardiomyocytes and disease models for heart failure patients is already developed. And we only need to now focusing on specific diseases under the heart failure umbrella or cardiovascular.
Right.
There needs to be more teams. So one team, as I said, one company can never
Right.
be one. There will be pharmaceutical partners are critical. They need to be partnering, opening more, I think, meetings for the
Right.
smaller innovative companies and collaborate.
Yep. Well, Ayla Annac, very good to have you today from Invivo Sciences, co-founder and CEO. You can go to their website. I know that they have investor information there as well as a lot of the information on the technology. We wish you the very best. Thank you for joining me today and to discuss this huge problem that we definitely need our government and our resources to really begin to focus in on what heart failure does today. I have experienced myself with the heart failure in my family history. I understand the problem that it brings, and it has mortality, it has quality of life, and it has economic implications that definitely should be addressed. Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Ayla. Very much appreciate your time today. We wish you the very, very best of luck.
Thank you for including and thank you for bringing the attention to this important matter. Thank you very much.
That's a wrap on Zero Friction, the show built around one simple idea: remove the barriers and the revenue will follow. If today's conversation was valuable, please subscribe and share it with somebody who needs to hear it. That's how we will grow this community. I'm Terry Kuchaluchis, revenue architect powered by AI. Come find me at my website, myrevrx.com, and let's talk about what friction is costing you and your organization. Until next time, keep removing the barriers and keep the revenue flowing.